Welcome back to the YouTube channel. If this is the first time on my YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel because I do content like this all the time. And then if you like what you're seeing right now, please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Now let's talk about the topic at hand, and this time we're going to be talking about Xbox Cloud Gaming. Now, Xbox Cloud Gaming, or xCloud, has actually been around for a little while now. It was first introduced to mobile devices. You can pretty much play all your Games Pass games on the go through a mobile device, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone, and I did get to check that out in the past, and my takeaway from that was the fact that I thought it was a really good service, but it wasn't without its limitations. The biggest limitation was the games definitely didn't play the same as playing natively on like an Xbox system, but it wasn't bad, and overall I really did enjoy, and I did use it from time to time, but again, it wasn't the best experience, especially again if you compare it to what you do on an Xbox playing games natively. Well, in the last couple of months, Microsoft actually released that xCloud service to the actual Xbox line of consoles, and the really cool thing about the Xbox Cloud Gaming platform is the fact that you can play it on current gen consoles, whether it be the Series X or S, or you can play it on last generation hardware, any of the Xbox One family of consoles, whether it's the Xbox One X, the Xbox One S, or the original Xbox One from 2013. So it's cool. It pretty much spans all the Xboxes like in the last 10 years. And I think that's absolutely fantastic because that means you don't have to rush out and buy the current gen line of consoles, the Xbox Series S or X. I do believe you can play some games that are actually not supported on the Xbox One through the xCloud. Like for instance, if you play any of the current gen games, I think they are compatible through xCloud, and that's something that is very cool because, as you know, moving into 2022, there is a big chip shortage. So for you to actually upgrade your old Xbox One to an Xbox Series S or X is kind of hard at the moment. So it's nice that you can even use the xCloud service on last generation hardware. But let's talk about my experiences with Xbox Cloud Gaming. My takeaway is pretty much the same takeaway that I actually had when I actually tried it on mobile. Just keep in mind as well, you do need to own Games Pass Ultimate to actually play Xbox Cloud Gaming. You can't use that service if you don't own Games Pass Ultimate, so just keep that in mind. Even if you own the lower tier of that, the regular Games Pass, it will not work again. It needs to be Games Pass Ultimate, the higher tier of Games Pass, but that's relatively cheap, and there is a lot of benefits outside of Xbox Cloud Gaming to actually subscribe to that, but that's for another day. But anyway, going back to my experiences with Xbox Cloud Gaming, overall, it is the same experience pretty much as a phone. Keep in mind, I am playing all my games through the cloud, through the Xbox Series S, the little brother of the Series X, and then of course I am using a wired connection for this, and I am also using a 1 gig wired connection or fiber connection. You can see overall my experiences were just extremely great when it comes to this thing. I pretty much enjoyed it, but it's not without its limitations. Again, the same thing, just like mobile devices, is going to be the fact that you are going to get a performance drop, and it's pretty noticeable. But the thing is, it's not all the time, and it will depend. I think if you're playing games solely like single player games, depending on what type of single player games are, it's not going to be that big a deal, and I do think it is worth it to actually try that service out, because the nice thing about it, of course, is the fact that you don't have to download your games natively to the Xbox. And as you guys know, this generation's, especially with games, especially digital games, especially if you own like a Series S that is all digital and you can't buy physical games, games are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it is nice to just sit down in front of the couch, load up a game from Xbox Games Cloud, and not have to worry about download the game for a very long time, which you guys know, again, these games are just very massive, so that's nice. But going back to the performance of the games, are a hit or miss. Sometimes the resolution will stay steady, and then sometimes the resolution will drop. Usually the resolution is not nowhere near on par as something as the system would normally do natively if you're playing a game natively on the system. But of course, that makes sense because I don't think you get all the bells and whistles, of course, of playing games natively versus playing games on the cloud, of course. Like for instance, I don't think you get things like HDR. You don't get things like higher frame rate, of course. The resolution is dropped, especially like on the Series X. You're not going to be getting 4K. Even if you do get 4K for some games, if I'm wrong, it's still not going to look as nice as playing games natively on the system. I do believe with other cloud services, there are ways like to play games at 4K when you actually stream the games. The biggest thing that's nice about this, besides playing games instantly without having to download the games, is going to be the fact that you can transfer all your games from, let's say you're playing on your Xbox to a mobile device, whether you have a tablet or whether you have a smartphone, you can continue on playing on there. And the nice thing is all your game saves are saved in the cloud as well, so you don't have to worrying about your progress from playing the game on the Xbox to playing the game on something like a smartphone or a tablet, which is really well. But overall, I liked what I had, and for the most part, it is a very good experience. I wouldn't recommend playing multiplayer games on here. Maybe if you're playing a co-op game but not a competitive game, but even so, I still wouldn't recommend playing a online multiplayer game in any capacity through Xbox Games Cloud, just because of course the lag's going to be there, the graphics aren't going to be as good, the input latency is pretty noticeable. It's noticeable at least more than what you do when you play the games natively on the system, so they still have a lot of work there. It's also still not perfect. No matter how good your internet is, there's always going to be problems with the connection, even if you're like me and you have like a hard wire and your hardwire is a 1 gig connection and things like that. It's just still not going to be the best experience compared to playing games natively. Now let's talk about, do I think this is the future of gaming or not the future of gaming? I personally think this can be the future of gaming. Do I want it to be the future of gaming? It's kind of hard to say if I want it to be the future of gaming. One of the biggest limitations as well, besides having performance issues when you play the game, whether you're on a hard wire or not through the console, is going to be fact. A lot of people nowadays do have a cap when it comes to their data connection. So that means if you go over a certain amount of data used each month, they will charge you. And that's something I'm just not a big fan of, because when you play games through the cloud, it does use up a lot of bandwidth, and your bandwidth mileage may vary depending on how long you play, what type of games being streamed from the cloud, and other things. And most likely you can blow through your data cap fairly easily, because I know, for an instance, a lot of people out there only have a 1 gig data limit each month, and you can easily blow through that whether you're doing other things besides just playing games, of course. And depending on how many other family members you have in your house, that bandwidth is going to be taken up extremely well. And that's something I do actually worry about and do think about all the time when I'm thinking about, should this be the future or not be the future, because it's going to cost you a lot to actually do this. And of course, a lot of people's internets aren't even capable of actually doing this. Like, for instance, I have a friend right now that can't even buy games digital or even use a service like Games Pass, because their internet is so bad it would at least take them 3 or 4 days for sure to even download a game digital on the system natively if they were to use Games Pass. So they normally buy all their games physical. So that's something I also worry about as well. Even though I have the luxury of playing it, not everyone has the luxury of playing games through the cloud, and that's something I do think about, and I don't think we're there just yet. I do know there probably will be a day where everyone's playing games through the cloud, and that's something I do look forward to, but it's going to suck for those people who just can't get the right connection, whether you live in an area where you're still not getting good connection, or maybe you just can't pay for it, it's too expensive, whatever the case may be. I still think for those people it's going to suck. Maybe all I can say is, well, it's too bad, because technology does move, but at least as of right now, it's going to take a very long time until that's the main way we game. I still think we're many, many years from that, maybe even possibly 10 years plus, maybe, just my prediction, because you do have to realize at this very moment, we're still not on an all-digital future. Sure, if you play PC games, you're already used to an all-digital future. That's the way you've been downloading games all the time. But when it comes to console users aren't used to buying games solely digital. Maybe if you're like on a Series S like me, I'm used to it by now, but there's still millions of people out there who normally buy their games physical because they just like physical media, or in a lot of cases they just can't download games because games are just so big it would take them way too long to download the games. But this does give me hope for the future, and does overall make me excited for the future of gaming. It will be really cool one day where you can just sit down in front of your PC, in front of your games console, and just play games natively through the cloud without having to download the games, and you can play the games anywhere, and you can switch devices pretty seamlessly, whether it's playing it on your mobile device or maybe playing on your PC and then moving to your big screen TV playing games on your console. I just think that is very, very cool, and that's something I am very excited for. But then at the same time, I'm kind of worried about it, because there are also some other things to take in consideration, like for instance, what happens to the games, because you don't actually own these games, and it's going to suck too. There's just so many limitations, whether it's digital gaming or whether it's cloud-based gaming, like a service like Xbox Games Cloud, knowing that you don't own the games. They can literally just be taken off the storefront since you're not paying for the games. Maybe what they could do in the future is let you buy games but still play them from the cloud, but then there's still I guess no guarantee to know that you're going to be able to keep the game, but I guess it's like buying the license for a digital game. Technically, even though you're buying a digital game outright for the same price, you'd be buying a physical game. There's no way to really guarantee that you're going to own the copy forever, because you may not get patches down the line. They may remove the game from the store. If they remove the game from the store, you won't be able to re-download the game if you have to buy a new system, or the game just vanishes for one reason or another from your console. Overall, the future of gaming does actually scare me, even though it looks like the future of gaming is going to be really incredible. I'm just about 50-50. On one hand, I like it. On another hand, I don't like it. Please, in the comment section down below, please tell me your experiences with Xbox games, game streaming, or if you tried other services out there, and please tell me, what do you think about this? Do you think it's the future of gaming? Do you not think it's the future of gaming? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let's have a big discussion about cloud gaming. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this old things, because I do think the future of gaming is very interesting, and it's hard to tell where we're going to go in the future, and it's just very interesting. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.